Well, you're officially not an astrophysicist until you lose your hair on top. That's what I heard.
There's great truth in this statement. Feynman was just a physicist. He was not an astrophysicist because he kept all.
This is how it is. 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 Today on Pop Culture Minefield. This is how it is. Today. This is how it is. Today on Pop Culture Minefield. This is how it is. This is how it is. Today on Pop Culture Minefield. Today on Pop Culture Minefield.
Well, it's time for another episode of Pop Culture Minefield. We love this freaking movie. And today I've got two friends here today. I'm very excited. My buddy Mephisto has made it to the show. He's the real McCoy, by the way. And, of course, my dear friend, John Brandenburg.
Oh, I didn't realize your name was Mephisto. I thought it was Mistletoe. Pardon me.
Funny you should mention that. I get that a lot.
Yeah, my problem is I always try to kiss him at Christmas.
No, you need to kiss under me during Christmas. See, I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish, and I'm not supposed to know that. It's just the 45 years of consuming U.S. movies, I guess.
Yeah. And, and also we want to make sure that people that are watching the show today are subscribed to our dear friend Mephisto's channel. So, Martin, at any point, please feel free to pop that into the chat. Who's all here in the chat, by the way? Let's see.
D-Bud has done it already, so.
The wrench of
friendship. Thanks, D-Bud. You the bomb, man. That's our good friend, D-Bud Martin.
All right.
And D-Bud. We also have Comic Relief Crusader as my buddy Mike. Let's see who else.
In the chat, not on the panel. What's wrong with you, Mike?
Tim, who supplied two of the photos that we're going to be showing today, because he actually got to go see some of the props from the film that are in the Air and Space Museum. I forget where it's at, Tim. Remind me where that Air and Space Museum was. Our good friend Slasher Fred is here. So I hope everybody's going to be ready for today's show. We're going to be talking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Probably one of my favorite films of all time. I went to see this in the theater multiple times, like Star Wars. I would see it a bunch of times. I grew up in a household with a dad who was a ufologist. He introduced me to Chariots of the Gods, all that stuff. He'd read that stuff to me when I was a little kid. Like Instead of reading Green Eggs and Ham, my dad would read Chariots of the Gods to me. Put me to bed. And he was
preparing you for life.
Yeah, he really was. He would do experiments at home. Like he built a pyramid one time to do a test to see if the energy given off by the shape of the pyramid would sharpen a razor, because that was one of the theories back in the late 60s going into the 70s. And he proved that it was bullshit. It didn't do anything.
Good thing you added that explanation, Gary, because if you had just said he used to do experiments at home, that would have explained a lot.
Yeah. It's when I do my De Niro face. Yeah, that's my dad. At the one that is next to Dulles Airport. That's it, Dulles Airport in Northern Virginia. So people don't know that there's an additional. It's not an annex; it's its own museum. The Smithsonian is in D.C. and people don't know the history of the Smithsonian, which is John Smithson. He was an Englishman. He'd never even been to America, not once. And when he died, he left all his money to build a museum dedicated to science and biology. And that's how the Smithsonian got started. And I remember back when it was in one building when I was a kid. I moved to Virginia, Fredericksburg, and we'd spend every weekend, John, at up in D.C. Every weekend. We'd drive up there every weekend because gas was cheap back then. And God,
I've been to the Air and Space Museum many, many times.
I remember crashing because they used to have that lunar lander thing that you could actually sit inside of and try to land the lunar module. And I died so many times.
Jerry's not coming back from the moon. He's going to stay there.
From the moon. I'm good at shooting games. I'm not good at landing or driving.
We have a breach, guys, and it's a really good one.
The secret is you got to turn on the engine kind of at the last minute. Otherwise you'll run out of fuel. You'll run out of fuel and you'll get stationary 500 feet above the lunar surface.
That's right.
And then you're not coming back from the moon. You're starting the moon call.
It's hard to believe. The technology in the lunar lander was no more than a Texas Instrument 10-key calculator at the time. That's what they landed with.
Hey.
It's scary.
It was good stuff.
Good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Hey, I got a video here I have to play for D-Bud because he did a breach of my butthole. This is a terrible joke that's been going on now for a couple of years that I just had to learn to live with. That if somebody makes a creative breach of my butthole, it gets on there. So he said Gary's dad once left Gary inside a pyramid to see if he could find where the back door was. So here's your video.
Good job, Steve.
Open your back door, baby. Loosen your hinges, I'll show you my key.
Yeah, this is even though we do talk a lot of real science and nerddom, John, we don't take ourselves too seriously here. We have a little fun. So,
well, then I'm going to be perfectly at home. Good. I can tell you
all the time when you're on the show with Don.
Absolutely. Don evokes humor immediately.
Yeah, and he's such a curmudgeon, but people don't know he's got a really good sense of humor.
I know that. Don and I have known each other for like 20 years.
Andy Morrow has just gifted 5 Pop Culture Minefield membership. Thank you.
All right.
Andy, holy shit.
Proof again that you are an awesome limey prick.
He
We love Andy. He's a good dude. Good dude. I call all my friends from England limey pricks or limey
And he's
bastards.
one of our favorites because he sends scary, funny shit all the time.
He does.
By the way, is it one of the sources of this crisis that over in Ukraine is the Brits are urging everybody to escalate, but of course they're as far away from the war as possible.
Yeah, I know.
It's the old British slogan. Why don't you and him fight? I'm a great admirer of Britain, and I loved Britain when I visited there several times. So
I stand with the Brits, not Britain, but the Brits. Do you feel better now, Mephisto, that I stood with England instead of you?
Yeah, it's fine. I've been to the UK several times, but I've been to the North.
United Kingdom.
The North is way better than the South. Way better.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look, well, especially now.
The Welsh are weird people. Love them, but they're fucking weird.
I've met a few Welsh people. Yes.
I walked into a pub with my dad. I was 13 years old, and there were these three men standing, bellying up to the bar, talking and laughing. And we walked in. The minute we bellied up to the bar, and my dad said something, they immediately went from speaking English to Welsh.
Welsh is that a language?
Yeah, it's Gaelic.
It's the Welsh version of Gaelic.
Yeah.
It's Gaelic.
Scotland has its version too, and they can kind of understand each other for the best part of it. But Gaelic changes from Scotland to Wales to Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
9 UFO flying craft sightings and photos begin right here in Belgium. That's right. That topic headline. It said
yes.
They were out hiking. It was those two men were out hiking, and they took photos that are still can't be proven one way or the other, whether they're real or fake.
Well, they were having jet fighters chasing UFOs all over Belgium in 1989. I mean, they had a big, surge of sightings, and they were all triangles. That was the interesting thing. Instead of being saucers, they were triangles. And it was a very odd time. I was in Washington, D.C. at the time. The Cold War had basically ended. And suddenly there was this big surge of UFO sightings. And also weird reports from what was then the Soviet Union that battles between different types of UFOs had been observed in the skies, especially over Siberia. Some things were getting sorted out, apparently, at the end of the Cold War. And so anyway, that's one thing I remember about those that surge of sightings in Belgium.
Could you after what Richard Hawking said, please bring up the picture I've shared.
Oh, this one? There you go.
Yeah. This happened, I think, a few nights ago. This is the alignment of, I think it's Venus, Jupiter, and whatever. It's the three planets. I don't remember because I've seen it on Twitter. Somebody said it, and it's like, okay, fine. It's beautiful, but I forgot it. I forgot what it was. But I do remember that it only happens once every 2,307 years. That specific number is super specific.
That's
but
pretty funky,
dude. That's very peculiar.
But if I'm not mistaken, it is Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn, I think. It's definitely not Mars.
So
what's
way red.
Which one is bluish?
The bluish one is on the right, and typically
Mars would be smaller.
That would be Mars, but Mars is smaller than that. So
they look too big.
And and Mars would be
a real picture, by the way.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, when I was a kid, I was always
that is crazy.
I was taught because again, my dad was a science guy. He explained to me stars don't twinkle, planets do. And I learned that at a very young age. I think I was like 5 when I learned that. I used to say things, John, back in school, elementary school, that would get me heckled by students. Like I explained to him, the continents are, the planet is solid Earth. Water rests on it. We're not floating. I said that like first grade, and I about got into a fist fight over it. and that's the
Did you win?
The difficult part. Oh, every fist fight I ever in, I won.
Well,
By the way,
after
good
your
Irish
brother
man.
finally,
Sucker punch like me.
after
No.
your brother finally told you how to throw a punch, then you won,
Right.
not before.
My
that.
brother, yeah, John. The story is that like my very first fist fight, the guy beat the shit out of me, but I won the fight because all I knew to do was judo, because my brother had taught me judo. So I went out in first grade, and all I did was throw this guy, and finally he got up and he hurt his back, and he just got up. I saw him reach for his back, and he just walked away, and I'm like, "Is that it? Is it over?" My nose was bloody, my lips were swollen, I had a black eye, and my brother's best friend was the guy who made sure that it was a fair fight, and he had to walk me home because I was terrified to go home. My dad was one of those dads like, don't fight, but what he actually said was, don't start a fight, and he was fine if I finished a fight.
Don't start a fight.
Yeah, so I get home and I hid downstairs, and he went upstairs and told my dad, and Dad came walking, get up here, boy, I'm proud of you, get up here. And then he looked at me and he goes, I sure hate to see how the other kid looked. And I'm like, oh, he looked fine. And he's like, why? And I said, didn't you hit him back? I went, no, I just kept throwing him. He goes, why didn't you hit him? I said, because Mike hasn't taught me how to throw a punch yet, which was my brother's next lesson, to teach me how to fight with my fists. And Stone Pie Media is here. What's up, buddy? Lord Thoth is here. I also see Tom Baker has bounced into the room. And I want to welcome Richard Hawkins. I'm suspecting this is somebody that follows you, John.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm sure. If he's a smart guy, follows me,
let's
right?
go with it. That's a story, and we're sticking to it. So
that's our story. We're sticking to it.
That's right.
Yeah, I got in two brawls in high school. I grew up in a rough town. I got in two brawls in high school. I did pretty good on both of them, and the second one, especially, and and it was a great training to be a professional physicist doing important work. Let me tell you, physics is not considered a contact sport. But it's like basketball. Yeah,
even though it's all about contact,
that's
about contact.
It is, and which brings us to Close Encounters. Yeah, but I was kind of raised in a rough and tumble environment. It was a logging town I grew up in, and it turns out that was a great preparation professionally for me.
Man,
physics is not supposed to be a contact sport like professional basketball isn't, but in a close game under the net in the closing minutes, the knees and the elbows, they just start to fly, and physicists have been known to do stuff like that.
Well, you grew up in an era just as I did, John, where we were nerds, we were geeks, but that didn't mean we didn't know how to fight. And,
you had to learn how to fight. Yeah. If you're going to be a good girl, if you're going to be a really good nerd or a geek, you had to learn how to fight.
You had to know how to throw.
So it was. I'm sorry. What? Who said what?
Martin said something.
Oh yeah,
Martin, what'd you say?
When you said to be a good nerd in our days, you needed to learn to fight, and I said, yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, your experience was the same, because if you're a smart person, you're picked on by all the stupid people.
There you go. Hey, Mephisto, were you a nerd when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, big one, big time.
So did you learn to fight too?
No, I got learned to beat the fuck up.
No.
In middle school, I had we'll call it rivalry with some guy. And it wasn't really punching, it was mostly shoving, and then it was we'll call it a jiu-jitsu match without ever knowing jiu-jitsu. It was mostly grabbing and trying to choke. the guy. That's
sure. Was this in Israel, or do things like that happen in Israel? I'm amazed.
It happens. It happens all the time. It's so weird that everywhere where it's civilized, it seems to happen like everywhere. But yeah, I was when I was in middle school, I was like a D&D geek and a computer geek. And then when I was in high school, I was mostly like a computer geek, like video games.
Yeah.
That sort of a thing. I did like D&D still, but I had nobody to actually play because most of my other nerdy geeky friends were into movies or video games as well. So it's fun,
guys. Andy just gifted 5 more memberships.
God damn it, Andy!
All right.
By the way, thank you. I received one. Thank you.
You know,
I want to point out that because of this, he has now officially achieved the rank of King Limey Prick.
Already,
you, Andy.
Already king. Damn.
Yeah, king.
Make him like a duke or a baron
king
first.
for a day. We'll make him king for a day.
I
want to talk about Alan J. Hynek.
Alan J. Hynek.
He is the man behind so much of what occurs in this movie. He worked closely with Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg was inspired by him. All of us were impacted by him that are into ufology because he was the scientist brought in by the U.S. Air Force to oversee Project Blue Book, which was there specifically to prove things were fake or not solvable, and but to try to put it to swamp gas as much as possible whenever possible.
Swamp gas,
and so but he came up with the close encounters of the first kind, second, and third, and fourth. And the first kind is seeing or hearing something strange. Close encounter of the second type is what is it? The physical impact from an unidentified object, like on the ground, imprint, stuff like that. And then close encounters of the third kind is actually interacting with something. And then the fourth kind is like being abducted. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So Richard Hawkins is now a member. Look at that. Thank you again, Andy. You're the bomb diggity, yo. You know what? I'm going to give him a video.
All right.
Today. What am I going to? I'm going to give him.
I'll take one of those free memberships.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't choose. That's YouTube deciding where to go. You can just.
Yeah, you can't choose.
Allegedly.
That's it.
Allegedly.
It sucks that you can't choose.
Hey, Martin, do you have a video for him?
For who?
For Andy, for all those memberships he paid for today.
Oh, not yet. Let me see.
How about this one? I'll give him this one. Here we go.
That's Robert Loggia.
Can you spell that for me?
Certainly. R as in Robert Loggia. O as in, oh my God, it's Robert Loggia. B as in, by God, that's Robert Loggia.
Nice. I didn't see that. But
the whole video, by the way, I don't have the whole thing there, John. He spells out his entire name that way. It is so fucking funny. So thank you again, Andy, for doing that. Hey, it's Colonizer Jeebus. You might remember him as Monkey
Jeebus.
Yeah.
I do remember him as Monkey Jeebus, and I was hoping he would pop in.
He's a regular. Sean Eastep is here. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see who all is here. We got Stump Media, Vince Zinger, Lord Thoth, Richard Hawkins, Andy Morrow. Adega Outlaw is here too. What's up, Adega? Rotary Motion is here as well. And of course, our dear friend Penny is here. And I got everybody else. Good. Everybody else has been mentioned. Pop Culture Minefield. What was that? Martin? What was that?
There it is. There it is.
Him, but not many people know that J. Allen Hynek.
I didn't know Jacques Vallée was in there.
No, he's not. But that's who Truffaut is supposed to be.
No.
Oh, that's who Truffaut is supposed to be.
No, Vallée's in the movie, like for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Really? Because I looked in all the cameos. It's not mentioned there. Is he the guy with the beard that you see near the end?
Yes.
I wondered if that's who that was, because that looked like him.
That's the guy who shows up. That's the guy who shows up when the UFOs appear and goes, "Merde."
Man. Yeah, man.
That's French.
Yeah. That means shit in French.
It actually means just about anything the French want it to mean, apparently.
It's sort of like fuck as well. Fuck,
Yeah.
but it's
I guess you can interpret it that way too. It's just the catch-all French term. I love the French. I spent 3 wonderful days in Paris when the Cold War ended.
I learned French at school, so I always have fun when there's French in the movies that we watch.
I school all my limey friends, Richard, all the time on how they mispronounce words.
It's
Here's the funny thing. They used to say them correctly. And then something happened in the 20th century and they started saying words fucked up. It's funny.
Yeah, I always get shit for saying tomatoes and basil.
Well, I grew up on British television and I lived over in the UK. And so I have weird, I pronounce certain words the English way. And it'll really annoy some of my friends here. They go, "Why do you say that way?" And I'm like, because I was taught to say it that way.
It's the German equivalent.
Are you staying on schedule? That's my favorite thing.
Mephisto?
Schedule. They pronounce it differently than Americans do. Schedule or something.
Yeah,
schedule.
Mephisto, what were you saying?
I was the French merde is German equivalent to Scheiße.
It's exactly the same word. Yeah, that's what it means.
But
how do you know how to cast a German?
When it comes up, it's like holy shit for like Americans or whatever. But it's basically you say it at the same time, but in French it's merde, and it's in German it's Scheiße.
Scheiße.
Yeah.
So
do I know
as
it?
in
Indiana Jones. I've watched Indiana Jones enough times. I know.
Oh, that's how you know. Okay.
Hey, Tom Baker, Truffaut. There's no D at the end. Totally love the movies. That's why I love people like Truffaut. Totally agree. I'm a big fan of his film. In fact, I just told Anima this story last night. When I was 13, I was sitting down because we were living with I just forgot their last name. Dennis and Julia. Oh my God, I forget their last name. Anyway, we were living in South Molden, outside London. And I'm watching the BBC, and it was the night, by the way, Elvis Presley died. I'm watching a Francois Truffaut film on the BBC, and there's this scene where Truffaut gets out of this car yelling at this other driver, and he calls him in French a motherfucker. And I'm watching the subtitles. I'm reading the subtitles. And he calls him a motherfucker. And I'm like, I'm looking around like, am I supposed to be watching this? And I'm like, I keep looking back at my dad and I'm like, nobody's reacting to this. So I guess it's okay. I'm watching it. And the line is this. The guy says, "I wish you would stop calling me that. That's my mother in the car." And Truffaut says, "Well, if you'd stop fucking your mother, I'll stop calling you that." And I'm like, seriously, is nobody going to stop me from watching this? I couldn't believe that was on television. In 77, man.
Oh,
back when Gary was innocent.
Well, the first time I'd seen Truffaut, kind of it doing something on the screen was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So you telling me that makes me think, gee, he had a much different personality in other movies.
Well, exactly. Oh, this is a good one right here because we've talked about this before on the show. that the word fanny has a completely different meaning over there. For us here in America, it means your butt, but it doesn't mean that. It means the vagina, and it's a very like slang.
Oh dear.
In England.
Oh dear.
So getting a smack on the fanny in England is a totally different meaning.
It's the
I shall be careful.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the fourth kind. I don't remember a fifth kind. What was the fifth kind?
With the probe.
Oh, so probe. Got you.
Okay. Hey, later when we get into this deeper, I'm going to tell you what I believe the real backstory historically of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Well, I know
what it really meant.
There was a UFO documentary that came out in the 70s that Rod Serling was the narrator of. And originally they were told by someone high up in either Central Intelligence, Department of Intelligence, or the DOD that they had a film of a incident that took place with the U.S. Air Force in 1962, I think, where they met with alien intelligence, and there was film footage of this, and they were going to share this footage.
Yes.
The documentarian.
There's the backstory.
And Spielberg knew about this story because he was just started coming up in film and television when that happened. So he was fully aware of it. So he was inspired by that, as well as the writings of Hynek, and as well as, of course, the research done by the Frenchman. I just forgot his name. And basically, he got in contact with Hynek, and Hynek was excited because he loved Jaws and he wanted to work with him. So he helped Spielberg put this together, this whole film. So Hynek is like, he has his musk all over this movie. So it's only, deserved that he's in the movie.
Oh, well, J. Allen Hynek, I respect him, but in my view, he went from being hard over, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Right. That was his career. Swamp gas, swamp gas was his phrase, to suddenly having a come to Jesus moment about UFOs after working on them for how long did he work with Blue Book? And so suddenly Blue Book goes out of business. Hynek suddenly becomes a ufologist. He claimed it was due to the sighting at by, I guess, Ruben Zamora, the police officer near Socorro, saw the thing land. I remember that was big in our local newspaper, this landing in New Mexico with a figure standing next to it, and then it took off. And they said, Hynek said that made him suddenly see the light, or the lights in the sky. And to me now, this was just a classic part of the government's management of this whole, they just basically told J. Allen Hynek, okay, you're going to become a ufologist now. Blue Book is going out of business. And, keep ride herd on this thing. So the backstory I heard was that, in fact, I heard it was like in more later, like 1965, 67, where the meeting at Holloman Air Force Base took place. That's between the Greys, the Gray aliens, and the Air Force. And this, according to the backstory I heard, this led to long negotiations during the end of the Johnson era, and then culminating in the Nixon era with a secret treaty being signed with the Greys. And we'll get into the little provisions in that treaty later, but that Close Encounters of the Third Kind was basically a celebration of this cosmic detente. It was the age of detente. We were trying to get out of the Vietnam War. We were losing the Vietnam War. It had lost support among the American. So we were trying to get out of that. And, Nixon did that. And he was also seeking détente with the Russians. We wanted breathing space. So it's like they also sought cosmic détente with the Greys. This is the story I heard.
Yeah, and of course
that we were seeking peace with the. We wanted to. We didn't want a Cold War in the heavens either, because we were kind of basically doing shoot on sight for a while.
Well, that's the problem, though, is that according to information, and I want to get back to the movie here, but the fact is that there are more species out there, and that we only had a détente apparently with one species. But
that's right.
I want to get into this here. Now, Bob Balaban is the gentleman here on the right. That's why I paused it here. And he is one of my favorite actors. I just love this guy. And he was in one of my favorite films as a boy, The Cowboys with John Wayne. He was one of the kids. He was the kid with the wireframe glasses. And he got this part by kind of lying that he spoke fluent French. And the fact is, he did speak some French. He took it in high school, but he didn't actually speak fluent French. But he lied, got the part, and so it worked. It didn't matter, and he nailed it. I think he's great in this film. And Truffaut, of course, is based.
I thought he did great.
Oh yeah, and he's one of the other. I don't know what to call him. There he is. There's Truffaut. Truffaut came on board.
Yeah,
not as a filmmaker, but as an actor. He told Spielberg, "You're in charge of this film. I will do whatever you tell me to do. I am here as an actor." He just wanted to be in it because he too was a fan of Jaws. This scene is so amazing.
Well, I thought he did.
Wait, Gary, wait.
I thought he did a good job.
Go ahead.
Wait. About Truffaut, I was later on when I grew up a little bit, I was actually super surprised he pulled off a good enough English for this movie, because I don't know if at the time he was as fluent as it seems to be in the movie. I think he was
actually he was speaking French almost entirely during the movie. I mean
the English parts.
When he speaks in English, it was scripted.
Oh, okay,
he did a fairly good job. But there's one line in the film when he says that they belong here more than me, and the way he said it, it sounded like he said, and I'm quoting Bob Balaban on this one. It sounded like he said, "They belong here, Mozambique." And if you listen to it, that's what it sounds like he said. But he was actually saying, "They belong here more than me." Yeah. And it's a great scene. By the way, these are the Dauntless bombers that disappeared off the Keys down in the Bermuda Triangle. And so they're saying that they've just been returned to us in mint condition of when they left.
By the way, I was living in Florida where they found a bunch of these kinds of Avenger or Dauntless bombers out in the Atlantic off of Florida, and people were saying, "Gee, they all seem to be kind of in this." It's like a whole flight of them went into the drink together, and the U.S. government immediately seized them. It was kind of a story in Florida because, people were doing a lot of investigating shipwrecks, and they were looking for treasure and stuff like this. And these guys found these planes, and immediately the government said, "You can't touch them. They're still U.S. government property," the government said.
Yep.
And they came and, that was like in about early 2000s, I believe.
Specifically,
when I was down in Florida,
the Department of Defense. So I want to point out too that
exactly.
Bob Balaban is the first character in the film to exhibit the behavior that I am way in over my head in this scene, because he's like, how are these things these are in mint condition? And he's confounded. And then he's like, how did they get here? And he's just backing up, and and then finally, because he hears what the Mexican said, the old Mexican man, that they came out of the sky. And the final shot of him in this scene is him backing up into that sand, that dust blowing up, and he just looks up straight up into the sky. And it just great moment. John Williams it was great moment. Hero. John Williams' musical cues in this film are heavy, and they're borderline.
Yeah, they are
horrifying. There's these moments that fill you with dread. Here's the little Mexican man I was talking about. And so you got 3 men speaking 3 different languages. It's awesome. And but half his face is burned, and he looks at
sunburn. Like, he's got welder sunburn.
Where did this come from in the history of ufology? Because I don't remember the first case of people being burned.
A Cash Landrum case. I remember a Cash Landrum case. The 2 women had these kind of what's called welder sunburns because of intense ultraviolet, like a welder. Oh yeah, they got radiation poisoning, and it was, so they're probably getting an X-ray dose. Above ultraviolet, X-rays start, and they start going into you. They don't just give you a sunburn. They start cooking you inside, and
it's what
that was a terrible thing.
Yeah,
I also know they start doing kind of a microwave thing.
Something occurred at the English event at the Air Force Base over in the UK.
Rendlesham Forest.
Rendlesham, that's it. That one of the
Rendlesham Forest.
Did he get burns?
Did he what?
Didn't he get burned? The one officer?
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember that. I just remember it from Cash Landrum case because they both suffered kind of radiation. The 2 women suffered radiation injuries.
And there was also that one that took place in the late 50s, early 60s, where a gentleman was hiking and had perfect little circular patterns on his chest, burns.
Yes. Well, he approached a UFO that was landed on the ground and kind of leaned over it, trying to look in one of the windows, and it suddenly
blasted
it blasted him, like sort of get away. It was that I remember reading about that, and but the whole subtext of Close Encounters of the Third Kind was the millennium had arrived. We were making, these were these were friendly ETs, and we were making friends with them. And that, despite, anyway, that's the backstory I heard. And that it was basically Hynek and the whole government was encouraging this. That suddenly the great day had arrived. We were talking to these little gray aliens, and I guess also because since they quit shooting at them, a lot of other people, species started showing up and showing themselves because there was kind of peace. It was actually overall a positive thing, but the problem was the Greys were abducting a lot of people, and the cattle mutilation thing had started, and so it became apparent that the Greys were not following the agreement that they signed. They were not following it, and they were supposed to give us, anti-gravity. We're still going on, so we want death ray from them. And they didn't give us squat. They gave us, stuff out of a bubblegum machine, the Cosmic 711. They were not giving us really good technology either. and they were abducting far more people. They said they just wanted to conduct a genetic study of the human race with these abductions. And it became apparent they were abducting a lot more people than they were said they were going to do. And they were trying to make hybrids. And so to make a long story short, just an overarching thing is that whole secret treaty arrangement fell apart disastrously finally under the Carter administration when this military clash at Dulce in New Mexico occurred under Archuleta. And you know, the accounts of it, I talked to Leonard Stringfield, who unfortunately isn't with us anymore, and he said he'd heard 3 different versions of what had happened. He said that's very consistent with a firefight, that everybody has, you know, things are confused. People are shooting at each other, and but apparently the special forces were trying to rescue a bunch of captive humans at a shared base. The Greys were holding human captives at the lower levels, and the special forces went in to try and rescue them. And this resulted in a firefight. He said the only basic difference between the 3 accounts he'd heard, second and third hand, from the military was the body count. Some people said 80 humans got killed. Other people said 60, and other people said, oh no, a bunch of aliens got killed too. It was, and then we had that guy, was it Schneider, going around, you know, giving an account, and he was crippled in one hand, Schneider. And he said he was a survivor of that. Yeah, Schneider was a survivor of that firefight. His father was a U-boat captain. I mean, this was a serious guy, as near as I could tell. And, you know, I first heard about this from John Lear, by the way, who flew for Air America. He was a CIA, part of the CIA Air Force in Laos. And he was very well connected to the intelligence community, and he swore up and down it happened. I was also, so anyway, I'm just telling you that, here's one little side note. Jimmy Carter got into office, and he'd been in office probably for about 2 years. Yeah, I mean, he was in office, it was like 1978. He was elected in 1976, I believe. And so he's sitting in his Oval Office. He had been trying to find out what the government knew about UFOs, but they kept him out of the loop. They never briefed him on it, apparently. And he'd seen a UFO. He was sitting at a restaurant with 10 other people, and they saw this big UFO incident, and with his wife. So he was very much a believer that they were real. And so when he became president, he asked the Pentagon and the agencies and stuff, you know, tell me what's going on. And they said, I'm sorry, sir, we haven't seen any droids like that. You know, they just gave him the complete runaround. This happened to Clinton, apparently, too. He was out of the loop. And then he's sitting in the Oval Office. So finally, he's sitting in the Oval Office, realizing, oh my God, I'm in charge. It's like I'm in charge of the Titanic. There's stuff on this ship that I have no idea what we're carrying, you know, or what we're doing. So he's sitting in this office at the Oval Office in 1978, and apparently around April or May, and suddenly this bunch of military people and people from the agencies come over to meet with him. And they said they had an urgent matter to discuss with him. And he says, they come into his office and he says, you know, tell me what's up. And they said, well, sir, the UFO aliens we had a secret treaty with, we've had a firefight with them at one of the shared bases. And he was just utterly flabbergasted by this. Well, first thing he realized is the government he was supposedly in charge of was just a figurehead. That half the government out there was lying to him. So some account says he actually wept hearing about this, but they basically gave him a 45-minute brief on the UFO situation. So suddenly he was up to speed, but I also heard that he was, he manned up and said, okay. We had this agreement with these little gray aliens. That agreement is absolutely suspended. And we shoot on sight any gray alien spacecraft. But we have to leave the other ones alone because, there are other people here and we realize they're not part of this. So that's the story I heard, was that the Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a celebration, kind of like Hollywood and the intel. It's probably inspired by the intelligence agencies, that, the great day has arrived. We're getting all this technology. We're going to have peace. We have detente in the heavens, peace in the heavens. And then the whole thing just completely unraveled and turned to shit by 1978. And finally, things finally just snapped. And they had this firefight at Dulce. And by the way, the first time I ever heard about it, I was in a grocery store looking at a tabloid, and it says, this was about 1978, and it says, U.S. troops fight aliens at base. And I kept thinking, I didn't believe in UFOs at the time because I had been told not to, and I was wanting to get my PhD and get a real job and get out of school. And I remember thinking, what would aliens? This was a ground battle at a military base. But then hey, I paid for my milk and honey and eggs and left the store. I didn't buy the paper and read about it, but I remember seeing that in like some one of these tabloids, World Weekly News or something. So that Close Encounters of the Third Kind represented a celebration by the secret, the UFO inspired government connected with Hollywood of this secret treaty. This is the story as I understand it. But the thing was that ended in 1978, and guess what movie came out after that? Alien, which was about basically betrayal. The crew on the ship in Alien, the humans, were basically betrayed by the people they were working for, and basically fed to this alien. The people wanted the alien brought back in one piece so they could study it, and the crew were expendable on that thing. And so anyway, that's the backstory I heard. I'll have something else to say about Spielberg's thinking on this has evolved himself. Yes, but yes. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like I want to go back to.
What do you guys think?
I just thought Spielberg wanted to one up his friend George Lucas. That's all I'm thinking.
No, I think I was something because he was actually working on this script in '75.
Yeah, I know.
Dreyfuss got involved.
It's been in development for like years and years and years. Putting aside the theory, which I'm not denying anything. I have never heard of that story ever in my life.
I am neither confirming nor denying.
I'm open to everything at this point. However, according to what I know, the script it's been around. So Spielberg and whoever wrote the actual script have been working on it for a while. But I think this was greenlit after Star Wars was greenlit.
I don't know. Sony was in financial trouble.
Yeah,
Sony was in big trouble.
It
when they
came out
greenlit this.
after, like Star Wars came out May 25th. This came out close to the end of the year, if I'm
September.
not mistaken.
Yeah, September.
They were
So-
forced to put it out towards the end of the year. They wanted to wait longer, but the studio didn't have time. They needed.
They
to make
wanted to
money.
wait and make it a summer movie, but Sony was in so much financial dire straits. They needed the cash flow immediately.
So it was
and
so it was
that's how.
supposed to come out summer of 78.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why it has a director's cut, apparently. No, I was thinking they were like, oh, there's another like sci-fi movie. We need to hit the nail on the head. So
yeah, I don't doubt there's
Right.
plays into it.
Well,
but
I heard the same thing about Alien, by the way. They
please. There's two things we just bypassed.
Oh, you're making me hungry there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the scene.
Yes. Yeah. By the way,
already
that's
at the air traffic control.
yeah.
Scene.
Yeah.
It is. This movie has a series of vignettes in it.
Yep.
And that is one of the most powerful vignettes in it.
Yes, it
that
does.
is based off of actual communications and interviews with people that worked with air traffic control of how these things took place with these calls. And it ends so realistically when the guy has a reaction to the UFO zipping by him, you hear it interfering with the intercom. And we lost Brandon Burke. He lost his connection. But that is the scene that sold me, by the way. I saw that scene before I saw the movie, and I knew I wanted to see this movie when I saw that clip. And I don't know how anybody else reacted to that, but that was a powerful moment for me. That whole scene of them asking the guy after it zips by him, "Would you like to report anything? A UFO? Would you like to report?" And he goes, "No, I don't want to report anything."
None of them want to report anything.
Yeah, it's because they understood that could have a dire impact on their careers as pilots, commercial pilots. So they're like, yeah, that because immediately it begins to question whether you're crazy or not. And that's what they would do. They would interview these guys, and it would cost them their fucking jobs.
Yeah, I think it's closer to real life as humanly possible. That whole section. Yeah.
So hopefully John will be able to rejoin us here. This scene is a scene that, and you'll see several scenes in this movie that are echoed again later in the movie E.T., which I think is a piece of crap. I hate that fucking movie.
Yeah.
Oh, but join the club, Gary.
So stupid. But
yeah,
guys,
we need to create a club called the We Hate E.T. Club.
Well, we also need to play the slideshow. We will be here tomorrow with 5 minutes into the slideshow and 1 hour into the show.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm already fading. I'm so tired.
It's so late. What is it? 1 o'clock there? What time is it?
No. It's
he's 1 hour ahead of me.
It's 12, but I have to get up in 5 hours. But however, before I leave, I wanted to discuss something that came up years and years and years ago. Are you aware of the Actor Studio show, right? With James Lipton?
Yeah.
So when he had Steven Spielberg on, they talked a little bit briefly about this movie, and one of the things that came up, because James Lipton is such an amazing, inventive guy, he said to Steven, you know, your father is a computer guy and your mother's a musician. So when the humans talk to these aliens, they use a computer program to play music to connect to the aliens. That's your parents talking to each other. And Steven Spielberg he paused for like 5 seconds and he said, well, that's very interesting because I've never thought about this ever in my life. Just now, when you said it, it just registered in my head that I just did it. And he said to James Lipton, I think you're right. But I did it completely subconsciously. So I'm
not surprised about that. Do you also know that his name in German means play mountain?
No, I know Berg is mountain.
No,
so
yeah.
Berg and
Goldberg
Spiel
is
the
Gold
play.
Mountain. Yeah.
His name is Play Mountain, Spielberg. And I thought that's so interesting. That his name is
Spielberg.
that, and
Yeah.
and his name describes what we see at the end of the film.
Yep.
These
Yeah,
UFOs
but-
Yes.
playing.
But I think it's a stretch because, again, it's one of those things that he didn't mean to, but I think kind of happened because he wanted to showcase. I'm not sure who worked on the UFO special effects. It wouldn't be ILM. Was it ILM?
ILM. This is the first stages of Industrial Light and Magic. Yeah, Greg Johns.
No,
Phil,
they started working on Star Wars though, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they did
They
this
finished
because they were shooting sort of parallel to each other.
Hold on. The photographic stuff was done by members like Dennis Murin was directly involved with some of the photo effects, but the guy in charge was Douglas Trumbull. And
Douglas Trumbull, didn't he broke off and did his own company later on after he did
he created
Star Trek?
his
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
So did Dykstra. John Dykstra
Yeah.
was the guy who created everything that built Industrial Light and Magic, and then he went off and created his own company. And Trumbull had his own visions anyway. He wanted to do something more than just visual effects. And this is something that a mutual friend of John's and mine.
I can always tell Trumbull stuff from Dykstra stuff, in the movies.
Oh, Trumbull's is
Trumbull had a different style.
But let's bring this up real quick here because
Sure.
the film that we just covered last week is Firefox. And Trumbull was originally set to do the photographic effects for that. It would have been so much fucking better if he had done it. But Dykstra went in there and he would not stand his ground with Clint Eastwood. And Trumbull would have. And so we ended up getting what they refer to as reverse blue screen for the film. And the matting in it looks so terrible. There are a few good shots in the film, but mostly a shiny fighter. Give me a fucking break. They don't put shine on those planes.
And on that note, I will have to love you and leave you. Thank you for having me. I would stay more, but I'm fading out.
Okay,
I
apologize.
Hey, Mistletoe,
Vulcan, live long and prosper.
Hey, Mistletoe, I got one question to ask before you leave.
Sure.
One question before you leave. Didn't the chief of the Israeli intelligence, space intelligence, say that there was a secret treaty?
Yes, he did.
I know he did too because I saw that interview.
Thank you.
He did, and he said some other things, which
yes,
he talked about a specific area. I don't know how much you've heard, but he talked about a specific area where we have a hangar for them, and I know the area, and it is very suspect. I'm not even joking. Yes.
By the way, I want to mention
I was actually serving
the
at
suspect
a base.
in the.
Well, I was serving at a base, not there, but close to there, because I was in combat engineering, and the base next to us was an airfield base. So, and the area he was talking about was in between those two, at an area where you're supposed to have like field training. So it's a live fire zone basically. So yeah,
that's crazy shit, Mephisto.
It's crazy because
we need to talk about this again.
It's because
that crazy shit.
It's because electronic instruments there don't work.
What?
It's It's shielded. Yeah.
Okay, so
see everybody.
Get out of here, buddy. Get some sleep, man.
Yeah,
we love you, man.
Okay.
Good night.
Love it too.
All right, we'll have to talk more, Mistletoe, about this.
So I do want to mention that he is a former member of the IDF. He is a veteran. And I always laugh, like, because in America, they'll go, yeah, but were you deployed? You can't say that to someone in the IDF because they're in so everything is outside
Were you
the wire.
ever in a combat zone?
Yeah, right. So that's my buddy Mephisto. I love the guy. So this scene, I paused just for a second because I want to point out this is Spielberg doing a proper jump scare in this scene. And it's also the foreshadowing of the scene. You see him pull up. He's lost. He doesn't know where he's going. I've had that happen to me when I was a medical person and I had to travel to people's homes to go do assessments and shit.
Yeah.
And I'd have my little book out and I'm trying to figure out at night where the fuck I'm at, and so I really identify with this character because, like, where the fuck am I? But he does that thing where he pulls the map down, you see a car pull up and brake, and then he waves them around. Go on around me. They go around him. But then the next time you see a car pull up behind him,
I know.
Car. It pulls up behind him. He waves them around, and it goes up. That is one of my favorite gags in this film.
I know, it's great.
Actual jump scare in it. The jump scare is right when the fucking light hits him, and everything changes and he shifts.
Right.
They do a proper music cue. There's a proper jump scare in there, proving that Spielberg knows how to do a horror jump scare. And
he does.
He was going to do a horror film, which was supposed to be sort of the sidequel to this film called E.T. And E.T. was going to have a small alien, a gray, that comes to Earth and is being hunted by one of the other species, trying to get him. And that's originally what E.T. was supposed to be about. And I think it was called Dark Skies. It was the original title. And I remember reading about that and I got so excited about it. And then the movie Extro came out, which was an Italian-produced horror film. Not great, but it was fun. Not great. And I think that film is what made him change his mind, because he didn't want to repeat something a Spanish or an Italian film had done. So he switched it around and turned it into this friendship story between a boy and an alien, which I hated. I hated the whole Jesus analogy of the Sacred Heart. You see his glowing heart.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, great, the Sacre Coeur. Awesome. This is a small appearance by the late Robert Blossoms.
Hey, that was my school, the Sacre Coeur.
But this scene is a great scene.
Well,
you went to Catholic school, right, hon?
Yeah, 8 fucking years. That's why I'm atheist now.
Hey, I stayed in a hotel on the Mount de Sacre-Cœur in Paris. So there.
I drew when I was 13. I drew the Sacre-Cœur at the base of the stairs. I sat down there and I drew it, and then I gave it as a gift to my English lit teacher, Mrs. Cordell. She still has it to this day. Some aliens may be adrift, floating in space, desperately sensing, feeling where to restart their race, regardless of planet or its natives, like in Body Snatchers, because their worlds are gone. Yeah. In fact, the beginning of the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the remake the readaptation in 1978, shows you how this is going to end if we don't stop them, because they had depleted this entire planet to nothing.
Yep.
And then they began floating out into space again. They're locusts. This, of course, is the famous image right here from the movie poster, where you see the road going off into the distance in a glow.
Yeah, the road. Yeah, that was a great movie poster. Oh, I also want to draw attention to the late Teri Garr being in this movie.
Garr,
I always thought she was. I thought she was great. I mean, we lost her just about a month ago. But she played, a rightfully fed up wife. Her husband's sort of gone temporarily insane.
Well, she was she's also a detached wife. She's she's there for the job, not for the actual relationship. This is
I know.
actually
She
done
was
as a miniature. Just so you know, this was a miniature, and this was shot by Dennis Murin. This is a miniature vehicle with the lights. It's really well done in order to get the shadow of the saucer flying over him, because this is reminiscent of the triangles like we saw over Phoenix and shit. And because there was that one, they talk about the lights over Phoenix, but they conflate it with the story of the invisible triangle. It's black and it was blocking out the stars, and it was huge. Like they said, about 3/4 of a mile across. This thing was huge, and that's kind of what you're seeing here in this scene. And I do love the effects in this movie. I think they did a better job in this film than they did in Star Wars, to be honest. It is Doug Trumbull.
Yeah, I think
weapon.
I would tend to agree, but they perfected things. They perfected things that they. I'll just make a comment. I enjoyed the first part of the movie very much. It was later when I saw the guy's marriage falling apart and his, obsession with the Devil's Tower, and finally
that's because they planted it into him. They planted
not just him.
I believe
the mom
that
is
Spielberg
drawing that thing all the time.
Intentionally, hold on. Spielberg intentionally showed that they did something to him when they went over top of him.
Yes, they did.
You start hearing this quick hissing and slashing and like flashes hitting him. And that was, I believe, his trying to tell us that these people have all had stuff implanted into their brains and become obsessed with it.
And that, I'll just say, I actually found that, quite frankly, when I got involved in Mars research, it helped end my first marriage. It was on its last legs anyway. But, I always connected those two things. But the other thing that I found very disturbing about the movie as it went on was the little boy being abducted by the aliens. And that was just terrifying. I mean, to anybody who had children like I did, it was just terrifying watching the little boy, this terrible cloud over the house, and the woman is trying to protect.
Yeah, there's zero empathy
the house,
from the
and
ET.
her child is abducted by aliens. Yeah, I mean, you just thought, these are our friends. They're terrorizing people. It's like if Spielberg was making a case, our friends from outer space have arrived, everything's going to be fine. That broke when I saw that. When I saw that scene of the little kid being abducted and the terrifying prelude to that, I just thought, I don't like this movie anymore. I'm going to keep sitting here and watching it, but I don't like it anymore.
Completionist, huh?
Oh, we lost John again. John has a really bad lag, worse than mine.
We just had the scene where the UFOs follow the road and then they drive through the
one of
border
the funniest moments in the film, right?
Yeah.
That chase scene is great.
He could just fly over, but no, they fly through the border control, and the guard is like, "Hey, this is Ohio. You can't do that."
Now, Spielberg said later that he didn't have kids yet when he made this film. And having had kids, he would have approached some of the scenes in this differently. Like the little boy being, Barry being kidnapped. And the way
he knew how to work with the kid, though.
The way he just pulls a St. Peter and just fucking abandons his family.
Yeah.
To go into space. Spielberg said that if he shot the film today, that would be one thing he would handle differently. But I don't trust him. I'm so glad that he didn't meddle with this when he put out this mastered cut of the film. By the way, I had the exact same hat as this kid is wearing, the one with the little goggles on him, the brim.
That's a cute.
The scene with the redneck family is so fucking weird to me.
Oh,
like they were expecting it.
Fuck.
Well, they were like expecting it. It's like, what the fuck is going on with this? What's the story here? That's the story I wanted to know. Like, why are they fucking aware of these things?
You don't get.
By the way, I want to welcome National Trails, and Peter Venkman's girl is here. So hi. There is a love story in this film, but it is never completed. You do get to see the kiss between him and Jillian later, because that's the relationship that was going to happen. This relationship is falling apart.
She's trying.
She's trying, but she doesn't know how to be married to him. She only knows her needs and what she can't deal with. That's all she knows. And,
yeah, well, he has checked out already. He
hasn't checked.
Everything else.
He's not checked out. You see, this is the thing. I didn't want to get into this. These movies, this edition, and when you see two or one or two scenes that are not in the original that address this, the guy is clearly in distress. His mind is turning to yellow. And his wife tells him, do not believe what you saw just because nobody else saw. Do not believe and shut up.
That's all she wants. I consider her a very toxic person.
The shower scene in which he's broken and he says, I don't know what's happening to me. Please, just hug me. And what is her answer? No, shut up. I'm leaving.
Yeah, yep. That was fucked up.
She is checked out of this relationship. She is not there to be emotionally supportive. She sees him as the bread earner, and that's their relationship. Yep. And sadly, it does end, but I got to tell you, it's a good thing. What sucks is those fucking kids. That oldest son, his reaction when he sees his dad,
he knows what's going on.
Shelting the mashed potato. He doesn't understand. He knows, he sees, but he doesn't understand, and he thinks his dad's going crazy. He's lost his mind, and he starts crying. That is one of the most painful moments in this film. That one in the scene where she loses Barry, he gets pulled out of the dog door. Even though I never saw a dog in the film, there's a dog door. This is another one that was shot by some of the team from Industrial Light and Magic, even though they weren't ILM yet. This was a miniature that was co-built, I think, by Greg John. And it is called Forced Perspective. And I love this shot because everything that's happening here is live in camera. There's no visual effects. It's not optical technically, but it is optical in the fact that how you set and they can only do something like this in bright daylight because you have to pinhole that fucking shot in such a way that it requires, the pinhole needs to be open at a certain point where it allows a lot of light in to light the object and the background at the same time. So that is actually only a 3-foot model, but the background is there were real people moving around and it's a real helicopter flying. Beautifully done. Forced perspective.
Yeah,
I believe that Jeebus is right here. If a UFO tries to take you, throw a badger at him. Always carry a badger. And just remember, honey badgers don't give a shit. Nobody knows that fucking video. Okay, fuck you guys.
What the fuck just happened to Martine's avatar? Okay, it's the thing in front of it. It just looked like he was Jeebus. Hey, something changed on my computer. StreamYard is fucking around tonight.
I love the way these kids interact with each other. This is so real world.
Oh, yeah.
He snaps a picture. The mom gets pissed. My camera is not meant for this.
They were great working with the kids, especially the young one, the 3-year-old. they didn't need many shots because Spielberg was so good working with him. Like the scene where he sees the UFO approach, Spielberg was standing outside that window on a ladder, unwrapping a present. He got his attention by saying, "Hey, I got a gift for you."
Him.
And
he tricked him.
Slowly unwrapped a parcel, and in the end pulled out a car, and that's why the kid looks so excited. And
it's also why the kid says later, "Toys."
Yeah.
Now,
maybe,
which is perfect.
Yeah, it is.
Even though it's accidental, that's not in the script. He said toys, and
it was his
Spielberg's
first acting job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the kid smashing the doll in the background.
Oh God, yeah, that annoyed me.
Now, with this concerning this, Slasher Fred said, because I don't know if we're gonna be there.
It's
gonna
3
be
notes
here. No. You remember when the spaceship is teaching their computer their alphabet,
right?
And they start a cacophony, and then it slowly goes down, and ending in the Jaws theme.
Oh, that was great.
No, that is something I'm going to bring up later because I told Anima, listen, that is the Jaws theme. So it was kind of funny, but I want to point out that Robin Williams said it best. He did the sound of the alien communicating, and then he says, dueling planets. Great joke. It is teaching humans dueling planets. Come on, dueling banjos. Jesus Christ, man. Robin Williams' humor is wasted on you fucking people. This scene is reminiscent of other things we've seen, and I do believe, I have to go double check, but I think this is the same actor. He was in Temple of Doom, the one that's standing at the top. But this is where you really hear a choir doing the notes, and they're not all singing the exact same notes. They're harmonizing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting that they chose to do that.
It gave me goosebumps, that scene. Well, also, it seems that they are split. Not all of them are singing the whole theme. They seem to be split in groups and harmonizing.
So this is a really cool scene. I do like that whole thing with Jaws at the end because you can steal from yourself. John Williams proved that because so many of his little incidental stuff in his music is stuff that he's used in other films.
The Temple of Doom is basically The Empire Strikes Back.
Since we're talking about the music in the end, the guy playing the piano thing, which is actually a synthesizer, that is the guy who invented that synthesizer thing, and he showed up on set to explain to them how it works.
The Moog organ.
Yeah. That's the guy who invented it, who's playing it. He showed up on set to explain everything and show them how it's played, and he was given a role that actually is playing it in the movie.
Well, I also appreciate the fact that the theremin came first, and the Moog organ was inspired by the theremin. They're like, how can we capture that with a keyboard? And that's how it happened. So the hand gesture thing, I don't remember the history of that, but I found it interesting. That
it's what monks used to do back before we had proper notes. They had
hand gestures mean certain things, and so when they do that with the alien at the end, the alien returns it back to them, and I thought that was really neat.
That was nice.
And this is, as John Brandenburg said, he's trying to reconnect, but he's having connection issues today.
He has worse internet than you.
Yeah, I said that already.
In the private chat, I just said it to everybody.
Oh, okay. Oh, telling them my private things.
Everybody knows your internet sucks.
So this is a really cool scene, and this is where their relationship begins to grow, and it's kind of sad because they finally have that moment near the end of the film, and they kiss. Only to say goodbye to each other as he goes off to space and she gets her little boy back. And this is also where we see that she's been implanted with it as well, because he's like, this means something. This means something. And then she looks at it and she starts messing with it. And you can tell she's seeing it too.
Boss.
Yeah.
I need to leave. So I'm gonna Gonna say bye to the audience and you, and see you tomorrow.
Alrighty, are we going to have this film strip still?
Yes.
He's going to stay in the studio and leave it running. We just have to, which we can't do. Right. He asked us to kick him from the studio when we're done, remember? But we can't because he's a sub boss.
Well, have a nice rest of the show, and I'll watch it later. Bye, guys.
Have fun.
All right, buddy. See you. John's still trying to join us. Stop and be friendly. What a redneck. That guy's such a redneck. Stop and be friendly. And of course, this time it's not UFOs. It's the helicopters. Welcome back, John. I know you have worse internet connection than me. But this is where he begins.
Well, actually, we're getting this big storm front coming through here.
Oh.
So this is where Neri looks over and he sees the sign flipping back and forth the way it did the night, and he begins to question his own memory just for a moment. That's why that's there, is to wonder if, am I going crazy?
Yeah.
Did I really experience this? Now, this is a radio telescope, and they're picking up some crazy signals. And that's what leads to the next step. But what I love here is the moment where we're getting these signals, and they mean something. And that's when having the interpreter, who is technically not an interpreter, he's a cartographer.
He's a cartographer.
This first number is from a map. It's for reading.
That's a longitude, yeah.
It's longitude. And they go and they take a 2,500, that's 1977 $2,500 globe off its mount and start rolling it around the place and bringing it up into this room.
They break into that office. They kick the door in.
Kick the door in and everything. I know, it's great.
Yeah, it was a great scene. You know, it was exciting.
This is part of the mystery of the story too, by the way, is that they're trying to unravel something, right, John?
Sure.
There's that. You know,
I read on the some backstory that the actual use of the Devil's Tower came to a member of the crew in a dream, and he mentioned this to Spielberg, and Spielberg really liked it. So it was a little spooky.
I didn't know it existed. It looks so fake. But it's real.
It is one of the places in this country I've never been to. I want to go there, and I want to go to Mount Rushmore, and then I'll have seen all the major sites in the United States once I see those two. I'm going to throw these up. These first photographs are from Tim, FKHC 2005. Here's one. This is the model that's at the Air and Space Museum outside of Dulles, Virginia.
The mothership.
And this is the close-up of the R2 that is that is R2D2. It is in the film. I'm going to show you this shot too here. I love this shot. This is on the set of the miniature of Devil's Mountain. And it's a perfect recreation. That's the miniature. Now that hollowed out area in the center there is where they will later superimpose the landing base that had lights going out the full length of an airstrip. And this is what it looked like in the film. And you see the airstrip down below for the aliens to use.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that this actor right here, Lance Henriksen, this is his first movie. He is prominently featured in it, but he never speaks. He is the armed security agent following Truffaut around in the film. So in all the scenes where you see Truffaut, you will catch glimpses of a young Lance Henriksen. This is, of course, J. Allen Heinrich in the film. And this is one.
I think he's working both sides of the street there. He's working both sides of the street. He was a UFO, debunker, and then he became a ufologist.
Right. So here you go, John. This is R2-D2 in the movie.
Oh,
and
there he is.
And here's another shot of him where you can actually see the red light, which I think is actually
he's upside down. Yeah.
Yeah, he's upside down.
He's upside down. Yeah.
But he is prominently in the fucking movie. So
oh yeah.
I love that.
Well,
that was a nod to Lucas.
Spielberg's a joker.
So here you go. This is another one. We need to get the comment down, honey, so I can show these. There we go. Thank you. This is a shot from the film. For that ship to be where it's at, it needs to be about 1 mile behind the mountain. That's how big this thing is supposed to be. And it is a problem they have in the film is the scaling, because the size of that UFO changes shot to shot, scale-wise. And there is a single shot in the film that I'm like, this one makes no fucking sense, because right below them, that's the mountain. It's going through the mountain, according to this shot right here. Even though you can see the mountain right there behind it. It's like this shot made no sense to me. I'm like, they didn't shoot this correctly, because you shouldn't have been able to
I wasn't paying that close attention,
That's what I look for, is details like that. And
you look for detail. Hey, you're an artist. You're an artist.
Yeah. I noticed shit like that. It drove me up a wall since I was a kid. I point that out. I'm like, as big as that is, it can't do that. Now, a lot of people don't know that this theme was actually written early on, because it had to be utilized within the film. And they had multiple versions of this. They had talked to not a physicist, but what do you call it? The mathematician, the doctor of math. And he explained that they would communicate in 5 numbers or 5 notes. 5 notes would be the way. So John Williams had put together a slew of variant versions. And the one that caught Spielberg's attention was this specific one. He goes, I like that. He was like excited when he heard it. And this is when Spielberg tricked him. It was unwrapping the gift. Another thing created for this film I got to talk about. This is called Spielberg Clouds, because it was invented for this movie. It was the guys.
It's also in War of the World. It's also in War of the World.
After this movie, it's in so many films. It's in Raiders of the Lost Ark. All those films love to use this. And what Trumbull figured out was that Doug Trumbull is the brain behind this. He decided that we could shoot through water. Now you use salt water and you use fresh water, and the fresh water will stay on top of the salt water. And then they would inject a dye with a big long needle. They would inject it into the liquid and shoot up through the liquid, and it looked like real clouds.
Whoa.
And it was just
that's amazing.
Doug Trumbull is God, I miss that guy. What a brilliant man he was.
What a genius to figure that out.
Also figured out how to do lens flares in camera. They're not an added effect. That is something.
Not as an added effect.
And he figured it out by using matted black backgrounds behind the vehicles. He would light them, smoke the air, so you get that hazing effect. And then he would clear it, put the blue screen, and because everything was computerized, he'd reshoot it again with the regular model. And then it was just like, this is how they should have done a better job on Firefox. Because if they had done it Doug Trumbull's way, Firefox would have looked better. But Dykstra didn't understand the process the way that Trumbull did. This is a scary scene, by the way. Again, showing that Spielberg knows how to do horror. because you feel everything that this mother is feeling. The child doesn't understand the threat. She does. And her reactions are
well, you know, it was sort of the implication, Jerry, that the child understood that the aliens were friendly. They were not coming to harm him, but the woman, you know, the mother didn't.
She's
but
just thinking
you know
maternally.
that
she's
yeah. I
oh,
just
this
to
right
me
here,
that was a real
shit out of me.
That was a disconnect for me. Disconnect.
This scared the shit out of me. Those screws coming up out of that vent. I'm 13. I'm loving this fucking movie. I really am. But that scene scared the crap out of me.
That scene is horrifying.
It is. Because
the
you're
whole
seeing
house
it
is
from her
actually
perspective.
Oh yeah, this whole sequence was terrifying to me because you know I had a little small child by that point, and you know I just couldn't connect with it. I disconnected sort of, you know, with what Spielberg was trying to do.
I mean, she's
trying to give
in her own house, and her own house is turning against her.
And just to show you, John, because I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but my daughter was kidnapped. My daughter Zoe was kidnapped. And so I totally know what you're talking about, because this scene becomes even more horrifying to me, even as an adult now, because of the kidnapping of my daughter. I'm more emotionally connected to this scene, and I'm on her side here. I'm like, oh my God, I would kill these things if they did this.
Me, I just, when I see this movie, my own instincts are, where's my rifle? I'm going to shoot whatever comes through the door. You know, you know, in one sense, that's where the whole thing that Spielberg was trying to do, to say, oh, our space brothers have arrived, everything is going to be fine. I said, no, that's not what you've showed us. You've not showed that us at all. You showed that this is a bunch of people trying to do shock and awe.
Yep. I want to point out.
Anyway,
here,
that's anyway. I still think it's a great.
No, I get you. I get you, John. This scene is interesting because I always wondered how they pulled this off, getting him pulled through here and not terrifying this kid.
That was his mom.
That was his mother, and she's in the shot. She's in the shot.
You can see her
for
arm.
a brief moment. You can see her arm pulling him, and that is his actual biological mother pulling him through that door. And I always thought that was really cool. That's how they kept him calm and cool and collected. That, you know, mom is the one that actually pulled him, not aliens. But that's the lie of movies. This is another great scene. They reverse them going back in the clouds, and she's screaming, you know, Barry.
Oh yeah,
you know, her son. Just that,
and
is
she
so
should be
for me. And there he sees her. Jillian,
these guys are our buddies. These guys are our buddies. Yeah.
This is the growing love story that never happens. The closest you ever get, like I said, is he does kiss her. Before he leaves, he kisses her like a kiss. And it's really adorable that you can tell there's passion. Let's see. Trumbull,
well, I liked her, you know.
For Blade Runner landscapes. Absolutely, he did. He had already used that here in this film. He's the one who had developed that idea. In fact, if you didn't know this, for Blade Runner, they had an original company there before Trumbull. And Trumbull was hired to work on Firefox. He quit working on Firefox in order to go work on Blade Runner. And it looks like Martin has disconnected, so we don't have the film script anymore. Did he give you the link, Adam, as you've asked him?
No.
Well, where's Martin sit? If he sits on the West Coast, we're getting this atmosphere.
Mexico.
He's in Mexico. Oh, no, he's in Mexico.
But we knew he had to leave because he has stuff to do. So he
Yeah,
was
he's
going
got
to
stuff
stay
to
in the
do.
background and have the slideshow running, but something is off and we don't have the slideshow anymore.
Right.
So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it down and we can go back here because we're 20 minutes away from the end of the show. Jesus Christ, we're huge. The fuck?
We're huge. Okay,
Huge.
now
Huge.
I want to point out something. Spielberg, I remember seeing an interview with him after E.T. They asked him, what kind of movie would you never make? And he'd say, I'd never show a movie with the aliens as me from outer space as bad people. He said that. That was his thing. And then, of course, 2005, he makes War of the Worlds, where, true to the book, the original novel, the aliens are blood-sucking mass murderers.
Yes, they are. The Martian blood vines. Man, I was glad that they had that.
Oh
in
yeah,
there.
well, actually, in the novel, the Martians are using humans as food source, especially their blood. That's what's in the novel. It was very considered just horrendous to the Victorian audience that he was writing to, you know. And not only that, he shows London leveled just like Dresden in World War II. And they say this was the first depiction of the mass destruction of civilization, of populations and cities that had ever been seen in fiction like that.
And I love the book. I read it as a kid. George Powell, in my opinion, still did the better version of the story because I love George Powell's War of the Worlds. But I did too. I appreciate so much from the new version. My problem with it was them planting the tripods underground. It was stupid. It made no sense. And the ending of it, Spielberg is enamored with John Ford's film, The Searchers. And he wanted to have his Searchers ending. But by doing that, he makes the father look like he doesn't belong. Like he
that's
has no
right, because he's kind of left behind while the children join their mother.
Yeah, it's like it's such a weird moment, and it always bothered me that he
I just rolled. Yeah, I just rolled with it, you know, as I've been married twice and divorced twice, and the second time around, I had to take custody of the kids, so that scene did not bother me.
Hey, Martin.
You are so lucky.
Hey, Martin.
Oh, we have an anima.
I went back here in the physical room to get my wallet, and I find out that the connection has fallen. So,
can you give a link to anima just in case?
Oh, it is. I have it just locally. Let me upload it.
By the way, while we're doing this, I want to read some of the comments. Got some really good ones. Slasher Frick, my God, you guys, I love our chat, and I wish we would pay more attention to them. I get distracted. Saw Star Wars at the Chinese Theater, Grauman's. Oh, cool. While it was still playing there down Hollywood Boulevard, playing at the Paramount before Disney bought it, and it became El Capitan. It was Close Encounters. That's awesome, man. That is awesome, dude. National Trails. Hope you subscribe, man. Hope all of you that are here have subscribed. One of the classic underrated sci-fi movies that delves into human contact with alien is Flight of the Navigator. Another film I love, where this spaceship takes the character David forward in time. Yes, and that was the shot, wasn't it? There that had the Frenchman in it. I think that was the shot.
Yeah. Can you go back? Oh well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I kind of, when I see the movie now, Close Encounters, I kind of think the kid's autistic.
It keeps jumping to the end for some reason.
I used to think watching, when I'd see the movie, that the kid was just empathetic with the aliens. He had psychic contact with it. Now I decided he's just autistic.
Kid. By the way, they did some in the making of video they made recently. Well, it was actually made when he was doing Saving Private Ryan, so it was made in 97, 98. The kid's an adult, and he talked about remembering all these scenes. It was a really neat interview with him. Now, I will tell you something interesting about this shot. Originally, and they did shoot wire footage of them being raised up and lowered from the ship, not walking down the ramp. And it just didn't look right. They wobbled and shit. On top of that, I have a video that I want to share, but it's too big. I can't put it into the studio. Well, Spielberg explains that at one point he thought he would use a simian, a real simian, in an alien costume in order to play the alien that comes down and interacts with him. He thought that'd be really neat. So they actually dressed up an orangutan.
On roller skates.
On roller skates. And put a mask on him. And the minute that the handler let go of him to go down the ramp, it freaked out and reached back and grabbed the handler, ripped the mask off, and was just freaking out.
Yeah. That orangutan was like, "You people are fucking weird. Why are you doing
this?"
The
orangutan went ape on him.
He went ape shit. That's right.
Absolutely.
But what they ended up doing was they designed this idea, and all this came from the imagination of Spielberg, how to do some of these things. And he turned to the effects guys to pull it off, but they were really his ideas. And he came up with this idea to have a giant puppet that would be handled by 39 puppeteers, which is what you end up seeing. And they shot it at a different speed. So it would move in a very straight, this, when it comes out, and then it does the famous scene where it raises its arms outward. That is this giant fucking puppet. And you can tell it's a fucking puppet. You can't see the wires, mind you. They shot it and lit it in a certain way. Trumbull figured out how to light it so you wouldn't see the cables. But it's
I thought it was quite effective. It is.
I like this scene because this is where she goes, I was chasing you. And he goes, yeah, I saw you. I saw you following me and yelling. And that broke my heart. That he's up in his ship looking down, seeing his mom panicking over him being taken. I agree. It's really odd that he did that in this story and think that would come off as benign. It's not benign. That's a horrendous behavior.
No, it's not.
It shows a lack of empathy of these aliens.
Well, to me, it's like Spielberg read up about a bunch of UFO stuff, including abduction stuff, and it didn't sink into him emotionally. It was just like, oh, I'll put that in the movie,
That'll be neat
to make it authentic. This would be a gee whiz thing.
Where's it at? I just saw it. Where's it at? Here it is. I bet Gary is the type of person, if abducted by aliens, would enjoy getting an anal probe. I would ask for a menu before they did it. Is there a special selection of how long and what you use? And so I want to pop up some of these some more, because at the end of War of the Worlds, there's a cameo.
At least when they do a colonoscopy, they put you under.
They put you under. That's right.
The aliens can't figure that out.
Gary's been trying to schedule one. They refuse.
Yeah, I have to have mine. So anyway, Slasher Fred, at the end of War of the Worlds, there's a cameo of two actors who played the leads in the 1953 adaptation. You are correct. They're the grandparents. I thought that was really nice.
Oh.
Day of the Triffids is another great alien invasion film.
Yeah, it is.
Because nature, as Seth MacFarlane once said, Damn, nature, you're scary.
Oh, it is. I mean, the movie Alien just took a lot of stuff from the insect world to make that that thing was just basically an insect doing what insects do. It was a dragonfly larva stage, which is a ferocious predator under what?
The Thing was very insect-like too.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
In fact, there's been debate for years.
It's
what was the original form of the Thing? And I said, this is my answer. I don't think it has a form. I think it's amorphous and that it survives as individual cells. And they're like amoebas that are capable of interacting with one another to build something. And that's scary. I think that the natural is microscopic. I think it's microscopic.
So to be something
Are you talking about the later version of it?
Yeah, the better version. I love the 1951 film, which only came out a few months ahead of Day the Earth Stood Still. They were the two first alien invasion films ever made.
They were.
And but
two different views of UFO contact.
Yeah, watch the sky.
You think two different views of the UFO phenomenon presented in 1 year by two different movies.
And you should come on. We should do another show on The Thing. And you should come on and join me so we can talk about what's really horrifying about that film, about these things. Because Crichton was the first guy to really write about it. Michael Crichton wrote about it in his film, The Andromeda Strain, which is the first book he ever wrote that he put his real name on. A lot of people don't know that. That was his first book because he wrote under an assumed name. And then that one was the first one he labeled with his real name, Michael Crichton, MD, by the way. That
was a very good movie, by the way. I love that movie. Well, it wasn't a movie you loved.
Does that mean I have to watch it again?
Well, you liked it. You enjoyed it. So I love this scene, Monsieur Neri.
Well, if you like people getting shot by laser in the cheek, sure. That's a good movie.
That's nothing I have a problem with. It's when things get insecty and spidery when I freak out.
Oh yeah.
This is
it was
a comment from our good friend D. Bud Martin. If Gary was abducted, that would be the first thing he would ask them from. Yeah, you goddamn right. Where's my ammo probe? I don't get
what is this? Who's this group being anal out there? Come on.
By the way, there was another scene that was shot that they kept out. This is the puppet. You can see by the way its joints bend that this is a puppet. But I still love it. It's beautiful. And what he was trying to show here is that even amongst the grays, there are different species.
Yeah. So sure. And that's quite reasonable.
So this is the taller, more lanky version. And then you get the little tiny ones. And by the way, the little tiny aliens were actually little girls. They had hired because little girls walk more gracefully than boys.
They do.
Boys walk very clunky. Another shot that was shot but not used in the film is when they begin to wander around and start looking at things. And that scene of that giant booth that's up there that the windows get blown out of earlier with the music, they go up into that booth and they're playing with the stuff. That was all shot but never put into film.
You called it music. It wasn't tuba fart.
Yeah, tuba fart. You had a piccolo. You had
it was the oboe.
Yeah. No, you have different instruments in here. You have a piccolo, oboe. You have a French horn, and you have a tuba that plays the Jaws theme. The Jaws theme is in this movie, guys.
Yeah,
but there's another theme in this movie, John. I don't know if you ever knew this, but it's shown twice in the film. Jiminy Cricket's song "When You Wish Upon a Star" is in the movie twice.
That's a sweet song.
It's shown in the Neri household he picks up something to build his giant version of the mountain in his living den, and he lifts it up, and there's Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio, and you hear the music box version of When You Wish Upon a Star. Then at the end, here, as he's going into the ship, John Williams revisits that song and puts it into the theme because it matches note-wise to his theme, the Close Encounters theme. It blends with it.
Oh,
so
it
well.
does. It
Many
does.
people
It does.
miss
It was. I know what you mean. He did that beautiful end passage at the end of the movie, and yes, it is When You Wish Upon a Star. I can tell that.
They also tried something else here. I want to mention this. It didn't work when they tried it. They wanted to have mimes. Mimes were hired to do a lot of the guys you see in the foreground when they come walking out. And they had the little girls moving their normal speed, but they had the mimes walking in slow motion and moving in slow motion because mimes can do that. But it still looked funky. Yeah. So it's film wasn't used. They tried this over and over again.
Having a bunch of little girls, I'm going to tell my granddaughters about this.
Those are all little girls in those costumes. This was originally a little girl, and the shot didn't work because the hands, the gloves they had on them with the long fingers, didn't do the gesticulation correctly. So they chose last minute. This is one of the last effects shot for the film. Was this animated, frame by frame animated alien figure who they said looks great. Everybody says looks great. Looks nothing like the little girls walking around their grays.
Well, hey, they made it. They were. It all worked. It all worked. I mean, I know picked up that there were different.
I'm an artist, and I noticed details like that.
You're an artist.
So.
I by the way, I use this picture on my X posts, and I have the alien, the hand. It's the human hand, basically telling the little gray, go back, and it says, turn around, buddy, and go back. This is an intelligence test.
It's an intelligence test. And I do believe that there he is, right there. That's him on the left there, the Frenchman.
Jacques Vallée?
Yeah, I think that's him.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Well, he's wearing dark glasses. He's the guy wearing dark glasses, right?
No, the guy. I think he's the guy on the left. I thought he had a beard at the time. I could be wrong.
If he had a beard, I wouldn't recognize him.
Now I'm going to tell you something really cool about.
Yeah, maybe Hey, I'm dyslexic. I confuse right and left. If somebody says, this is left and this is right. And my politics is right, but
Martin reverses the image. So they're reversed. So you're re-reversing it back to normal.
Okay.
So the way Trumble pulled this off, you see all the moving lights.
By the way, we're running out of. I see. Jerry, I'd love to be on the show talking about the thing. Okay.
Okay.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I see we're running out of time.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We usually go over a few minutes.
Okay, good.
So the bottom saucer of this was intentionally designed to look like a breast and a nipple, like giving life. That was the subconscious design here.
Yeah, of course, that's what males would think. Giving life.
Trumble.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
That's
it's in the making of. It's in there. But I wanted to point out
that sounds like a Freudian interpretation of the flying saucer, is that they're all breasts with nipples.
So what Trumbull did was he shot this saucer part of this, the bowl shape, was actually shot upright. And they had a projected image of all these effects onto it, of the moving lights and things. That was all done by projected image on the bottom saucer half of this. Brilliant. Doug Trumbull was so far
ahead. It was very effective, very effective.
And that's why I still say
it was in a way of it was
my death that
it was
the effects in this are better than in Star Wars. Same year.
Oh, sure. Well, you know,
There's
the
actually
backstory on the
also-
make.
There's a B-17 on there that you can actually see if you go. You got to have the 4K copy, and you have to zoom in. There's a B-17 sticking out of the side of the flying saucer that was added as just a funny thing they wanted to put on there. That's not me, Tim. I didn't say that. That is right from their
Well, it
mouth.
looks like. And by the way, see, it looks like the Manhattan skyline lit up at night on top. It's the heavenly city. You know, I responded to that image. You know.
By the way, Spielberg again wanted to have a black, solid black, no real lights on it, giant ship that like just looked like a shadow blocking out the stars.
Oh,
But
that
then
would
he
have been
was
too
traveling,
threatening.
And while he was traveling, he went by a refinery, and he saw all those towers and their lights on it, and he said that inspired him. So he went to one of the greatest artists in the history of film art, and I'm escaping his name right now. It's like, oh my God, Ralph McQuarrie. He went to Ralph McQuarrie to design a spaceship that integrated a saucer half and a top half that looked like the towers from a refinery coming up out of it. And he painted the saucer that you see in the movie almost exactly the way you see it in the movie. That is Ralph McQuarrie's design. So it's pretty incredible what he did.
No.
So that's it. Film's over. Let me go back to the comments here. Let's see. I'll take a look next time.
Yeah, he'll take a real close-up look at the boob.
And they wanted the big M. Actually, that was a plan. So there were two arched UFOs that were lit, and then they would cross at a point and make the giant M for McDonald's. And what Spielberg was saying is that aliens were trying to make things that would be familiar to us or friendly to us and not look threatening. And so they would have like Chevron gas station, all that shit.
I mean, McDonald's.
Well, he was looking for an endorsement, you know.
Well, there is.
He was looking for some endorsement money.
The scene where
product placement. I'm sorry, Jerry.
On the morning that he's losing his mind and his wife and the kids leave him, there's a Budweiser can sitting right in front of the TV broadcast. And then in the middle of in an interruption of the news broadcast, it goes to a Budweiser commercial. Clear product placement in the movie. I thought that was funny. Well done, though, because it seemed real life.
Well done. Well done.
Let's see.
I mean, one of the female leads got her role because she was in a coffee commercial, and she was the perfect American housewife, apparently.
And you can actually look that up. Look up Teri Garr coffee commercial.
Yeah.
It's available. It's 30,
and she's
30
so
seconds.
Oh, no, well, she was. Everybody loved her. She was a very. She was. I
became a fan of her.
She was pretty. And cute. She was kind of cute, and pretty and cute at the same time, and but in a very non-threatening way. You know, it was somebody you could walk up to. You know.
Yeah, they talked about it in that film. I'm interested in Whitley Strieber, but I think he's insane.
My view is he's been Stockholmed. He's been so terrorized. If you read his books, they were threatening his family.
I read Communion.
Yeah, and they really abused him, and they threatened his family. In fact, they threatened the whole world. They were basically giving him images of the Earth being destroyed by a nuclear bombardment. You know, it's like,
I think that in the end, what happened to him caused him to kind of lose his mind, because I've tried to listen to him when he talks, and I'm like, dude, I was really into the early shit you were talking about, but now you're just fucking batshit crazy. And I think this stuff does have an impact. I will agree here with Tom Baker. 90% of alien life is probably, I wouldn't say it's hostile, but that it would appear hostile to us. But it's just trying to stay alive. It's trying to do its thing.
It's got its own agenda. It's got its own agenda. You know, it's like the universe is Darwinian. I'm sorry. You know, I posted a picture on X, and it shows a killer whale chasing a dolphin, and the caption was, "No, they are not playing tag." You know, the killer whale is going to kill that dolphin and eat it, and that's just the way things are. But you know, at the same time, we'll be fine. We're going to be fine. I'm convinced of that now. We're going to be fine. In fact, I think the UFO experience for the last 80 years has been kind of like a hazing you go through when you're joining a fraternity,
Right.
or at military school, you know, and we've gotten through it. I think we've found, you know, we have people who obviously are kind of enemies, but we've also got friends out there. We're going to be fine. In fact, I actually told some.
It's the
UFO
Federation. We have the Klingon Empire and the Romulans. That's what it is.
Yeah, we
It's
got
basically
absolutely.
Star
We
Trek.
got the Romulans and the Klingons out there, but we've also got the Vulcans and the Andorrans, and the Federation's out there. Why do you think we're even having this conversation? There hasn't been any Independence Day or War of the Worlds. There could have been, but there wasn't.
Oh, absolutely.
And so,
you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you when well, I actually wrote a book called Cosmic Awakening where I talked about this. You know, it's out on Amazon.com. The whole overarching intellectual development of the UFO, putting UFO phenomenon into the idea of coming into contact, a cosmic awakening, awakening of cosmic consciousness for the human race. But I'll just say this, that one thing I also was forced to admit is, if things are going well in outer space, that's going to slow down disclosure. The government is under absolutely no pressure.
Well, I don't believe there'll
speed
ever
up.
be disclosure. I'm with Don Ecker on that. I think that we saw when the Senate subcommittee said we want everything from all the branches, and the CIA and the Air Force said, no thanks. We're not going to do
You
it.
get squat
So
from us.
that tells you right there will never be disclosure. We'll never get the absolute truth. We'll find out little bits here and there, but I don't know. I don't fall for it.
Well, you can.
So, John, I want to thank you for
yeah.
being here, man. We're going to go ahead and wrap
thank
this
you
up.
for having me on. Anima, I enjoyed really talking to you also, and meeting your kitty, and yeah, Jerry, you want to have me back to discuss some other stuff? That'd be great. I really enjoyed this. I enjoy your audience out there sends such crazy comments too. Let's skip the anal probing thing.
We have the best chat on YouTube.
I consider
John.
our chat one of the best chats out there. And look who just joined us, Jamie G, Voltaic Blood. Good to see you, man. I love our chat. We have some of the best.
Who just joined us?
This guy.
This one, yeah.
Jenny
okay.
Yo,
I thought it was Jeebus. Hey, all right.
Oh, John's a friend of mine, and I will have him back.
And I will rewatch the thing for you, John. I will do it again.
Well, there are two versions of the thing.
Oh.
There's two, there's the one with Kurt Russell and the one with that 51 version. I like both of them, but the second one is really scary.
Did we watch the second one, Gary?
Or the novella. It's a novella by Campbell.
Yeah.
And he followed it. There's actual dialogue from the book in the movie.
Oh, the second movie is much truer to the book than the first movie.
Which
they're
is why
both
it's so
they're
horrifying.
both great. Oh, that scene of that head hitting the floor and then turning into getting crab legs and and you just think, oh my God.
Are you ready for this? Hold on, John, I gotta tell you. Anna watches that and she's terrified of spiders, okay? That thing lands on the floor and sprouts the legs. I hear in my right ear, oh, fuck no. No. Oh, fuck that. No. Why? Why?
I was muttering the same thing when I saw that. I thought, Jesus.
Yeah, only John. I'm not muttering. I'm loud. I'm terrified of spiders.
I'm saying, what the fuck? And I just thought it was so clever. You know, looking back on it, it was a cinematic masterpiece. And we're trying to make. By the way,
it stands to today.
Oh, it does.
Oh, let's do this.
Let's do this thing. Let's have both versions, and you got to put that still in there. Oh, I want to lay one last thing on you guys. The Devil's Tower appears in the Japanese science fiction movie Mysterians for a second. When the alien base, you can watch it for free on the net, the Mysterians, and when the alien base that's buried near Mount Fuji comes out of the ground, for about 2 seconds, it looks just like the Devil's Tower in detail. And that is so weird. I got chills the first time I recognized that. I thought, something spooky's going on here. Hey, Anima, ask your cat. The cat understands.
That's a movie, right, John?
Yeah, that's a movie. The Mysterians. Oh, you'll love this. It's made by the
1957.
1957. It's made by the same outfit that made the Godzilla movies.
Yeah, Toho Pictures. This is
Toho.
Great. I'm a big kaiju fan.
And it's done in color. You know, the original stuff. It was the first movie they did in color, and there's so many details in there that are. How did they know that when it was made in 1957, even before Sputnik? And you realize it's like the American intelligence presence in Japan was still very strong in the 50s. And it's like they helped him write the script.
I am going to fucking find that movie.
Anyway, it's a great movie. You guys should watch that movie.
I want to thank you for being here.
Yeah.
John.
Well, no, they won't show it in the trailer. Just get the movie and just get the movie and watch it, and you'll see it's a bunch of scientists, and they're out there looking at this lake where all these UFO sightings have been reported, and then suddenly from the ground comes up this big pillar of dirt, and it falls away, and it's a dome. But before the pillar, falls away, it looks just like the Devil's Tower.
We will check that out, John. I want to thank you for being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me on here, you guys. And I loved I not only love the whole thing, but the audience with their crazy comments. Some of which
absolutely we have.
Some of which I think some of these comments were uncalled for.
No, they're not.
I want to thank the audience now. I need to do my thanks for him, John. I want to
absolutely, and I thank the audience.
Comic Relief Crusader. I want to thank FKHC 2005. I want to thank Tom Baker, Slasher Fred, Penny, Rotary Motion from X, Adega Outlaw, Andy Morrow, Richard Hawkins, Lord Thoth, Vin Singer, aka El Otaco, aka the Weed Pillar. I want to thank Stone Pie Media for being here. I want to thank
don't forget Jeebus.
Whatever form Jeebus comes in, he's colonizer Jeebus right now. Soon he will be Christmas Jeebus. I want to thank Sean Estep for dropping by. National Trails. I hope you guys subscribe. Vickman's girl is here. I want to thank her for being here. Who else popped in? I don't want to miss, honey. Who else?
Hold on.
Oh, Jamie G. Thanks for popping in. Thomas Jackson. Let's see. I'm going through right now to make sure I don't miss anybody because you guys are important. Please remember, leave a comment after the show. Tell us if there's a film that you want us to talk about. Every Wednesday, every Friday, every Saturday, we're going to celebrate great cinema. November is Sci-Fi month, so we're going to be celebrating a lot of science fiction films.
And you got to do Mysterians. You got to do the Mysterians.
Get a copy of it. We will do every Monday, Military Monday. You know that I cover military films or TV shows. So you guys can join us. The whole goal is I want to be a positive place rather than all the bitching and moaning about all the crap. Because look, I feel the same way as everybody. I hate woke stuff. So what I decided to do was to make our channel more positive by talking about really good stuff that's fun to talk about. And that's what these shows are dedicated to doing.
Absolutely.
I will be doing Logan's Run. Tom, it is absolutely on our mission plan to do Logan's Run. I love that movie. Andy wants me to do Two Girls in One Cup. I've seen it. I think it's illegal to even watch it now. I think it's a crime.
Okay.
So, but I saw it back in the 2000s, and I about threw up when that came out.
It sounds like some weird bloke movie or some weird Brit movie.
It involves two girls, a single Dixie, not Dixie cup, but a red cup, and poop. They begin.
I like
pooping.
this one.
We all float. Correct. We all float down here. That's right.
Here, yeah.
I love you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm sorry we had some technical issues today, John.
Yeah, we had some issues.
John has a worse internet connection than me, and what I think I'm going to suggest, John, is not using video, but coming in with an avatar, so and you can talk.
Oh, okay.
There you go. There you go. Connection. I think you'll get a better connection. But I want to thank you guys. I deeply appreciate everything you do. Don't forget, tomorrow night is going to be it's 80s Fright, and we're going to be doing a really good movie. Do you know what it is, Anima? That you don't want to see?
No.
That you'll never watch?
No.
No? Let me go look and see, because I've already forgot. I was hoping he'd save me. But no, my woman will never save me.
Dude, that show is in the middle of the night for me. Why would I know what you're talking about?
Near Dark, a classic film from the 80s. It is, I think, the third best vampire film from the 80s. And I consider Fright Night and Lost Boys better. But I love Near Dark. Scary-ass flick, great effects, great actors. You got Lance Henriksen. What is her name? That played Vasquez in Aliens is in it. And Bill Paxton, all three from Aliens is in that movie. Good film.
All right, you got to also mention that you were on the subject of vampires. You got to mention Planet of the Vampires.
One of the three main inspirations for Alien. Absolutely.
And one of the three main, inspirations for Alien. And pardon me, Anima, but wonderful women in tight spacesuits.
Oh yeah.
And leather. So Friday we're going to be doing. What are we doing? We're doing Le Professionnel, Lyon. We're going to be talking about Gary Oldman, Jean Reno on Friday. Great fucking movie. And then Saturday we're going to be doing Flash Gordon, the 1980 film. Yeah.
That classic, great movie.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to hit the sales bit
now. Stick around after the show, John. We can talk for a minute.
We're
gonna go ahead and end it here, guys. Thank you everybody for being here. Have a great middle of the week. Don't forget it's hump day. So if you don't hump somebody, your hump day will go bad. Just letting you know. So hump somebody. Hump them hard. Hey, don't forget, Keith Moncrief has Al Nickerson on tomorrow. Comic professional that's going to be coming on. That's going to be talking about the current state of the union of the comic industry, as well as about his new comic series.
That's all, folks.